everyone, and welcome to our knowledge transfer series. Today we are here with our intern,
Braden.
And I'm John Erickson, and today we're working the process of training a new financial advisor in the financial services industry. You're a freshman at Arizona, so we don't know where your career path's going to take you at this point, right?
No, not yet. Gonna be a sophomore though.
Well, hopefully graduation's the first step, right? At some point here, you know.
We'll see.
Just try and pick a better school next time.
Come on. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
So today, before we get going, I always mention, today's information has to be treated as general in nature. When we talk about training someone, we're going to talk a little about what our views are of the financial services industry. But you can't always treat it as gospel day one, right? You have to, treat it as general information in nature. And here's our standard disclosure statement on that. But before we're going today, today's video, we're actually turning this over to Braden a little bit. There's going to be a second video of my version of this, but
right.
I challenged you and I said, can you tell me 3 things the average person doesn't know about the stock market, right?
Right.
And that's good. It's a good topic because if you're going to be a financial advisor or in this industry, in theory, you should know more about something than the average person.
Yeah. So,
right?
you asked me about 3 different things about the S&P 500. First of all, for those that don't know, the S&P 500 is just a collection of 500 stocks. That's why it's 500. The biggest 500 in the U.S., and they put them in a fund. And they are all weighted differently. So that's one major thing is the biggest portion of the portfolio is weighted in the Mag 7. So the top 7 companies are a big portion of that portfolio. So what that kind of means is if these companies are performing well, so is the S&P 500, so is the markets. They're kind of been carrying so to speak, the rest of the economy for a little bit. Recently I kind of been talking to you about that.
Yeah.
How they've been performing so well.
Let's pause right there because a lot of kind of jargon came in there. So there's 500 companies in the S&P 500, right? But you said weighting. What does weighting mean?
Right. So you're buying a portfolio of a bunch of different stocks, but Microsoft is the biggest company. So what the portfolio will do is say you'll buy your 10% of your portfolio will just be this one stock, even though you have 499 other companies.
Okay. So basically, you're gonna have more dollars in one company. So certain companies matter more, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have more of your money in these companies ultimately than the other ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like adding a big whole bunch of salt and then a little pinch of pepper to something, right? The salt matters more because there's just so much more of it in a recipe. Okay. So talking about weighting, you said Mag 7. What's Mag 7?
Yeah, so the Mag 7 was, in other words, Magnificent 7. It's the 7 biggest companies. I didn't write them down, but it's Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet's one, right?
Mm-hmm. Google, yeah.
Google. I believe...
We're 3.
NVIDIA's one.
Yeah.
Oh, want to help me out a little bit?
So you had Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA. Which ones do you have so far? Well, you don't have Meta yet.
Amazon.
You don't have Tesla in there yet, and you don't have Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
So, Mag 7. Magnificent 7. Do you know what the other 493 stocks are called in the S&P 500?
Oh, is that the mid-cap or...?
No, it's kind of a little bit of a joke of what the other side of the S&P 500 is. So if you have 7 of them, or the Magnificent 7,
right.
What are the other ones called?
Not magnificent.
Yeah, okay. They're called the mediocre 493.
Right.
Right. So
you showed me that yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lesser known term. It's not actually very fair, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we did that. So what else did you know about this? Keep going in your thought.
Right. So the S&P 500. Another thing the average person doesn't know, but they might see, is that it has a particularly high risk score. So it has a risk score of 73, and if you were to go onto the Morningstar or a website like the Wall Street Journal, it'll tell you it's a pretty risky investment. But over time, if you actually look at it, the S&P 500's had positive returns since it began. And so that risk score, if you're holding long term, can be a bit misleading. It's not as risky as potentially as you may think. If you just put your money in for a year or versus long term, it'll potentially be better for you.
That's a good point. And so let's talk about that term risk, or riskier, right? So not necessarily math, that's an emotional term to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
And I'll use this example. Is the S&P 500 risky to you?
To me, no.
Right, and that might be because of your age.
I was going to say that being younger is very key in that, because you got a lot more time your money's going to sit in the market and grow. And if you're near retirement and you're putting your money in a riskier investment, if the market were to crash, your retirement goal may be pushed back or it's kind of screwed up a little bit.
Well, there's another interesting question. Would it be unreasonable for someone to say that the S&P 500 is not risky? Because you're amongst 500 companies, even if you're over-concentrated, you are pretty well diversified.
This is true, but since, like you were saying earlier, the majority of the portfolio is so heavily weighted in a small amount of companies, if those companies were to do bad, it wouldn't really matter how the rest of the portfolio did. It would be dragged down regardless.
That's pretty fair. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, like what you're saying is, over the long term, you would generally expect to get good returns for the S&P 500.
Yeah.
But not necessarily in the short term.
Yes. That's the thing. Another thing with that is, like, you might really have faith in one of those top companies. Like, for example, like Amazon, you really believe Amazon's going to be great. Or like Tesla, you think it's going to be great forever. It's gotten great returns up to this point. You made a ton of money on it. But will it keep going? That's a real question. And if you have a lot of your stock in one company, you have all your faith in this company to keep going, what does that mean for you down the road? Is it going to keep going? Well, sometimes it's hard to decide, honestly, how it's going to do. So what we've been talking about a lot is diversification can be really key to getting a lot more protected, I guess you could say, in terms of something were bad or to happen with that company.
Right.
And even though you might believe in this company to do well, you could still have a lot of money in a company, but diversify your portfolio so you can protect yourself and not bankrupt yourself if a company were to do bad.
And I would say that the majority of financial advisors, one of the key things they offer to people is diversification.
Yeah.
Right. You've seen me talk. I talk with a lot of retirees.
About in the last video, yeah.
Yeah, and I work with a lot of retirees, and I explain that a lot. Is there any negatives to diversifying?
Potentially, you could miss out on earnings.
Right. Big returns, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at, Costco in this region or Microsoft. Like if you just kept in your company stock, you'd have beaten the S&P 500 over say 20ish years.
Oh, totally.
And you could have created almost generational wealth depending upon your, how much you're putting in, things of that nature. So on the one hand, because they're like, that's why I actually really work with retirees, because I know I can offer them diversification. They typically should do that.
Especially in your retirement, yeah.
Right, but someone your age, should you diversify? Or should you just stick with that one company stock?
That is tough to decide for everyone. I mean, everyone's comforts are different. Some people would rather be safer with their money and just know they're going to have money regardless. So diversifying might be better for some individuals. But then on the other hand, there's a lot of opportunity to gain a lot of money and make real wealth there if you were to take more risks. So I think it really depends on the person, like what you're comfortable with. Putting all your money in one company is very risky, I would say. But if you were to put a lot of money in a company, I don't think that's a bad thing to do at a young age.
No, that's fair. And you think about yourself being an actual financial advisor. So you had to make money based upon the advice you could sell, right?
Yeah.
If someone keeps all their money in their own stock, right, they just buy the company stock.
Right.
Do you have a lot of value to them? Should they hire you for anything?
So if they were just wanting to keep the money?
They worked at Microsoft. They believe in it implicitly. They just want to go for the generational wealth.
Well, I mean, there's always reason to hire you. If they want to go for that, I mean, that's obviously something that you aren't going to be able to touch, but potentially down the road, if you could help them with other things like retirement potentially, or tons of other stuff that they might need help with. I mean,
like life insurance as example.
Yeah, there's a ton of different aspects of the financial services industry that you work with, and I've learned from you about. So really, any person could find value working with you. Honestly,
sure,
I can see.
But also from a marketing perspective, because you have to, if you're going to be a financial advisor, you have to go out there and market yourself to people. You may not want to necessarily market yourself as heavily to people who want that core growth. You want to acknowledge it and recognize it, right? You want to be like, okay, this is where this person is. Maybe I can't help this person as much. Maybe someday I can.
Yeah, exactly.
But you won't, you need to survive in the immediacy. Someday is important, but you need current clients as well as future clients. And so maybe that's the type of person, you have a newsletter program for, you have a touch program, so maybe something else pops up that you can help with, but you need to let them go. And so, the concept of prospecting, we always say that sales solves problems. And the way you get sales is prospecting. So this issue is you have to now talk to lots of different people to find that subset who maybe want to diversify.
Yeah.
That's why I focus on retirees, because they should diversify, and then that's hard work typically. So that gives me an opportunity to work with people and sell certain subsets of the population and help them. And so that's something you should consider as well, as you kind of look into the top 3 things the S&P 500, or top 3 things the average person may not know about the market and your philosophies. You come across very well. You did good. A little fast on the intro, right?
Yeah, I was nervous for sure, but
yeah, that's all good.
I'm still learning, so I wasn't fully confident with it, but I'm getting there. I'm learning I definitely am excited to see what you have to say.
No, yeah.
I feel like you'll definitely develop it a little bit better when you're formulating the sentences, so I'm kind of curious to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, someone hopefully if you watch his video, you'll watch my video next,
Yeah,
so we'll
there
see
you go.
kind of the top 3 things,
Fortress
basically.
Mega LLC, check it out.
Yeah.
If you're just a follower of me, you can go check this guy out. He's great.
Thank you. So, well, cool. Well, anything you want to add to this one?
Honestly, it's important to learn about this stuff, S&P 500. I've been getting into it recently, and just learning about what it is, and honestly just the markets in general is super important if you want to invest your money. So
Well, it's cool.
there you go.
Well, good. We'll sign off then. I'm John Erickson.
I'm Braden Altmeyer.
And if you ever have any questions, feel free to email us, and hopefully your email's on here one of these days, and they're emailing you with questions.
Oh, it's on there. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.